workers from their toil. I have seen the business that God has given to everyone to be busy with. He has made everything suitable for its time. Moreover, he has put a sense of past and future into their minds. Yet they cannot find out what God has done from the beginning to the end. I know that there is nothing better for them than to be happy and enjoy themselves as long as they live. Moreover, it is God's gift that all should eat and drink and take pleasure in their toil. I know that whatever God does endures forever. Nothing can be added to it, nor anything taken from it. God has done this, so that all should stand in awe before him. That which is already has been, that which is to be, already is, and God seeks out what is not high.
The reading today is from Philippians chapter 2, 9 through 13. I hope in the Lord Jesus to send Timothy to you soon, so that I may be cheered by news of you. I have no one like him who will be genuinely concerned for your welfare. All of them are seeking their own interests, not those of Jesus Christ. But Timothy's worth you know, how like a son with the Father he has served with me in the work of the gospel. I hope, therefore, to send him soon, as I see how things go with me. And I trust in the Lord that I will also come soon. Still, I think it is necessary to send to you Epaphroditus, my brother and co-worker and fellow soldier, your messenger and minister to my need. For he has been longing for all of you and has been distressed because you heard that he was ill. He was indeed so ill that he nearly died. But God had mercy on him, and not only on him, but also on me, so that I would not have one sorrow after another. I am the more eager to send him, therefore, in order that you may rejoice at seeing him again, and that I may be less anxious. Welcome him then in the Lord with all joy, and honor such people, because he came close to death for the work of Christ, risking his life to make up for those services that you could not give him.
Thank you for sharing our scripture with us today. Many people think that happiness is simply a matter of luck. They think if you're happy, you're just lucky. You have happy circumstances, so congratulations to you. Actually, happiness can be learned. There are certain qualities that if you learn them, your happiness in life is going to go up exponentially, and vice versa. You probably have never thought about this, but if I mention it to you, you automatically know what I'm talking about, because you can instinctively pick out qualities that cause you to be happy and qualities that cause you to be unhappy. For instance, if you made two columns, the happiness column and the unhappiness column, and I said, which column would impatience go? Unhappiness, right? Impatient people tend to be unhappy people. And the more patient you are, if you learn patience, you're going to be happier in life. That's obvious. It makes sense. So, what we're going to talk about today is 4 very important qualities you need to build into your life. If you don't already have them, you need to learn them. We're starting, as you heard, in chapter 2 of Philippians 19 down to 30. And at first glance, it doesn't seem to be a very deep passage. It sounds like Paul is just talking about 2 guys who are with him in Rome and is talking about sending them back to Greece. You might think this is one of those passages in the Bible to just kind of read over quickly so you can get to the good stuff. Well, you would be wrong. Because in this passage, you can find the examples of the 4 things you must learn and build into your life if you want to be happy. Paul has an example of these 4 choices, and they are choices. They're habits that lead to happiness. And he sees them in these guys named Timothy and Epaphroditus. Paul says, and here's the reason why we're looking at it in this series called The Habits of Happiness. Paul says, I'm going to send these guys to you for 3 reasons. He says in verse 19, so that I may be cheered, so that I may be happy. Then in verse 28, he says, so that you might rejoice, that you would be happy. And then also in 28, he says, so that I may be less anxious. So whatever these guys are doing, however they're living, it's a way that's going to make you glad, it's going to make you, or it's going to make me glad, and it's going to make both of us, all of us, less anxious. And as your pastor, that's what I want for all. So here's the first thing. The first thing you need to learn. Shift your focus away from yourself. That is the starting point for all happiness. I must shift the focus away from myself. Paul gives Timothy as an example of this. In verse 20 through 21, he says this, I have no one like him who will be genuinely concerned for your welfare. Would you say that's true today about most people? I would. Everybody looks out for their own interests, at least most of the time. Paul says, I've got nobody like this guy because he actually takes genuine interest in you, not simply in himself. What we're talking about here is a matter of focus. The first key to happiness is you've got to change it. You've got to change it off of yourself to others. We don't normally do that. So it's something you have to learn to do. You have to intentionally train yourself to shift your focus. And it's not easy to do because culture and everything in our nature teaches us to be self-centered. The bottom line is everything in culture teaches you to think about you, me, I. So I have to intentionally shift that focus away if I want to be happy. The second thing you're going to need to learn to be happy is this. If you want to be happy, you've got to learn to become someone that people trust. It's really obvious that the more people trust you, the happier you're going to be. And if nobody trusts you, you're living a pretty miserable life. So here's another quality you can learn. You've got to become someone that people trust. Again, Paul uses Timothy as an example of this, verse 22. He says, Timothy's worth you know, how like a son with a father he has served with me in the work of the gospel. Paul says, I've watched this guy in action. I've seen him in all kinds of circumstances. And he says, this guy, Timothy, he's the real deal. He's genuine. He's trustworthy. You can count on this guy. Friends, do people know what kind of person you really are? Are you trustworthy? If you're not, then you're not very happy. Because the more people trust you, the more your happiness goes up. I want to tell you a little secret. Everybody around you, right now, is doing a credit check on your life, every moment of your life, not just the banks. So, are you what you say you are? Am I? Are you the real deal? Or are you just some phony baloney? You wear a mask here, and you wear a mask over there. The word hypocrite means somebody who acts this way on the golf course, this way with his kids, this way at the church, and that way with his wife. If you're going to be happy, you have to learn to be consistent. How do you develop a reputation for reliability? Well, the Bible talks about two things. It talks about integrity. That's the first one. And what I mean here is that your actions match your words. You don't talk a good game and then live another way. Integrity, though, doesn't mean you have to be perfect. If perfection was a requirement for integrity, none of us would have integrity, because nobody's perfect. We're all flawed. But integrity means what you see is what you get. It's the real deal. We need to make sure that our actions match our words. The second one is I need to keep my promises. That's kind of paired or similar to integrity. We need to keep our promises. It means that even the promises that you make, and then later you figure out it's going to cost you more than you originally thought, you still keep it. I'm going to do it because I keep my word no matter how much it costs. So if I want to be happy, I first have got to shift my focus away from myself. It's not about me. And second, I've got to become somebody that people trust. Now, Paul was a superstar. Yet Paul knows that we get more done when we work together. So the third skill is, in order to be happy, we've got to learn how to work with others. What I'm really talking about here is learning the skills of being a team player, a team member, the skill of collaboration, the skill of working together. If you don't work well with other people, you're going to be unhappy much of your life. What do I need to learn to work with other people? Well, again, the Bible has two things. The first is learn to cooperate. Paul gives the second guy, Epaphroditus, as an example of this quality. In verse 25, he says, I think it necessary to send to you Epaphroditus, my brother and co-worker and fellow soldier, your messenger and minister to my needs. What is Paul saying here? Well, he's saying that this guy knows how to be a team player. This guy knows how to work in a group. He's not a lone ranger. He's not a maverick. This is a guy who knows how to work with other people. Paul uses here in this passage three relational metaphors. He talks about my brother, my fellow worker, and my fellow soldier. The first one, my brother. He's saying we're a family. He calls him my brother because the church, friends, is a family of God. That means sitting next to you are your brothers and your sisters in Christ. Secondly, he says we're a fellowship. We work together. We serve together. We've been given the same tasks, you and I. We have the same great commission. And then we're a family. We're a fellowship. And we're in a fight. Fellow soldiers. Would you agree that we're in a battle? Yeah. That the forces are against you, against us. Yeah. Yes. He says it's a battle. And we all have the same enemy, evil. And we need to support each other. We need to defend each other and encourage each other. So not only do I need to learn to cooperate, but here's the second one, I need to be considerate. In this passage, he is saying that Paul is being considerate of Epaphroditus because he wants to go home. He's going to send him home. And Epaphroditus is considerate of the people in Philippi who are worried for him because he almost died, and he did it because he was on a mission of God. Friends, we have to be thoughtful of the effect of our words and the effect of our actions. Sometimes you hear people say, I just say what I think. Well, there's a word for that, and the word is rude. An idiot can say what they think. It takes intelligence. It takes character to be considerate. To not just run off at the mouth. To not just say whatever you think, but to stop. And before you say something, think how this will affect somebody else. The fourth quality, to be happy. We need to find something that is worth dying for. Most people are giving first-class allegiance to second-class causes, and those causes are betraying them. The question you need to ask yourself about those things that you are giving your time and energy to, is this going to matter 5 years from now, 10 years? The best use of your life is to invest in that which outlasts it. Like what we're going to do today in a few minutes during our offering. Friends, happiness comes from putting service before security. God blesses those who serve him even when it's inconvenient and even when it's uncomfortable. Not doing the safe thing, but doing that which stretches our faith. So let me summarize what we talked about here. The happiest people on earth are caring, considerate, cooperative, considerate and courageous. That's what we just looked at. They're caring. They get the focus off themselves. They're consistent. They learn to be trustworthy. They're cooperative and considerate. They know how to work well with others, to be on the team. They're courageous. They're willing to take risks and faith. These are the things, friends, we need to learn if we want to be happy.